Hi, I'm Dave Wallace. I'm the Research Director for the Workforce Training Board, and I'm here to speak on and add some insight to the slides that are being presented here. It's anticipation of our Rural Community Vitality Forum in Colville, Washington, at the Spokane Community College branch campus. What we're hoping to accomplish with these slides is to give you some background into information in advance of this meeting. And ideally, we'd love to hear from you to find out if this data coincides with your experience on the ground or if it doesn't coincide with your experience on the ground. Currently, the Washington state economy is red hot, is measured by gross domestic product. In the most recent year available, the state is growing at a rate of 5.8%. This is about twice the rate of the nation, which is at 2.9% in the same period. However, this growth is not shared equally. As we know, the Central Puget Sound, and particularly King County, tends to drive a disproportionate amount of that economic growth. We can go back and we don't have the same data points for the local economy, but as recently as 2015, we can look at county gross domestic product rates and aggregate figures. And just for comparison, out of the Washington State 39 counties, Stevens would have ranked 27th, Ferry would have ranked 37th, and Pend Oreille would rank 33rd. Another way that we can compare this region against the state is with earnings. You can see this chart shows you how that trend has changed during the past 5 or so years. Back in 2012, the median resident in this region was earning $30,000 versus $35,000 for the state. That has widened up to 2017, where the state median was $40,000 compared to the local regional median of $30,000. We can also look at the average payroll, and that you see even a wider divergence there. For example, in Stevens County, in the most recent data, we can look at the average payroll was $37,000 compared to $62,000 for the state. Unemployment rates for the region are also quite high. You can see that particularly in the case of Ferry County at 15.2%, and then at Stevens and Pend Oreille we're talking about 9%. So what it is, it's a measure of the workforce, the labor force that is not able to find a job but is looking for a job. And you can compare that to the 3.5% we can see in King County. Poverty rates as well are quite high for the region. You can see that for Okanogan and for Ferry County, we're talking over 21% of the population is within that measure. And what we are talking about here is a percentage of persons in households that are earning less than a set threshold. And to give you some sort of background on that, for a household of one, that threshold is $12,000 or so, and it changes based on family size. But in any case, what we're talking about is more than 1 out of 5 people in these two counties are in very low-income households. The region also has the highest percentage of disconnected youth in the state. What we're measuring here is the percentage of persons between the ages 16 and 24 that are neither in school nor are they employed. You can see for this region it's 23.6%, which is higher than other regions, though there are some fairly close. Particularly you can see like the Yakima area was over 23%. This is particularly a problematic data point when we think about the future and the fact that our youth are not being engaged and their job prospects down the road are going to be affected thusly. This slide is showing you a tree chart of the industry makeup for the region. What it's showing you is there's two data points here. One, the coloring is wages. You can see the lighter the color, the higher wages. The second thing we're looking at is employment, and in that case, the larger the box, the higher the employment. So, for example, you can see that clearly government is the largest employer in the region, and mostly in that case, we're talking about things like teachers, firefighters, police, and so forth. Also large in this area is retail, agriculture, and healthcare. Now, so the takeaway here is that we've got these 4 large sectors: government, agriculture, retail, healthcare, and to a lesser degree manufacturing. However, of those, so for example, agriculture, retail, and to a lesser extent accommodation of food services are pretty low-paying industries. This slide shows you the top 20 occupations in the region. Currently, the top one is retail sales, followed by the supervisors of those retail sales workers, then drivers, grounds maintenance, cooks, and then cashiers. Now, mind you, this is currently the top occupations in the region, but we all know that things will change, and to speak on that, I've got Joe Wilcox of the Future of Work Task Force to add some information.
So some of the many issues we are exploring with our Future of Work Task Force are the disruptive effects of automation and artificial intelligence on the economy, the workforce, and the relationship between employees and employers. The introduction of new technology is changing the nature of work across all occupations, as tasks traditionally done by people are now being carried out by machines. In the case of Stevens County, these effects on the top 5 occupations will be varied. According to a methodology developed by the McKinsey Global Institute, 47% of the tasks a retail salesperson performs can be automated. For first-line supervisors of retail sales workers, 20% of these tasks are currently automatable. 79% of drivers, sales workers, and truck drivers' tasks can be automated, along with 9% for grounds maintenance workers and 84% for cooks. So the takeaway from this is not that robots are going to replace humans en masse in the near future, but that the nature of jobs as a whole will change as an increasing amount of tasks within an occupation become automated.
The bar graphs in this slide are showing you the percentage of the workforce, the labor force, by both age groups and by gender. So you can see in the case, this is Washington State here, and you can see that it's fairly equally distributed between different age groups, fairly equally distributed male, female. The important takeaway is to note that the largest age group now in our workforce is the 25 to 29-year-olds. So what we're really starting to see is that millennials are taking over as the largest age group from the baby boomers. For the Northeastern and North Central Washington area, that distribution is quite different. You can see that it is to some degree more male, but even more so, it's much older. The largest cohort, the largest age group is the 55 to 59-year-olds as opposed to that 25 to 29-year-olds at the state level. The next 2 slides show you what we essentially already know, that there is a pretty high payoff to having higher education levels. In this slide, you can see that in virtually every single case, with additional educational attainment, there is additional wages earned. And you can see that the dark blue represents Washington, the light sort of teal is the Northeastern region. We're seeing the same pattern, though we're seeing it different aggregate levels. This slide's showing you the same thing, just in inverse order. We're looking at unemployment rates, and you can see that in each and every case, the higher the educational attainment, the lower the unemployment rate. The next 2 slides show you earnings and unemployment rates by ethnicity. Given that we're talking about a fairly low population levels, though, we had to combine different ethnic groups. So you can see in this case we're looking at Hispanic, multiple race, and white, and you can see the differences between at the state level and at the local level what those groups were earning. Similar patterns hold for unemployment, and those patterns hold both for the state and for the local region. The only difference is overall you're seeing higher levels of unemployment at the local level versus the state level, but we are once again seeing very similar patterns. So that's our snapshot of data for your region. We hope that it was useful, and we certainly would welcome any questions you've had. For general questions, you can contact me. My email address is there. If you're interested in learning more about the future of work or have future type questions, please contact Joe Wilcox or Lou McMurran of the Future Work Task Force. And thank you.